It is Monday, March the 4th, 2024. I am James. You are you. We are here. And there's no way around it. This is a big night. This, as far as I am concerned, is one of the biggest nights in show history. Because tonight is the first part of a 4-part epic that will extend through the entirety of this month. In the NCAA, they have March Madness, where the country's biggest university basketball teams go head-to-head. On this show, At Home with James, it's also March Madness. But it will not be basketball teams competing. It won't be sports teams of any kind. For the next month, 16 of the most incredible, the most epic, the most powerful, dorky, dweeby, wimpy, wienery, nerdy subsets will be competing to determine which of these groups, these subcultures, these hobbyists, is, without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest group of nerds. This has got a big fight feel. So, we're going to kick things off. I want to get things started fast and furious. First, I want to welcome the one and the only co-pilot, co-host. Around these parts, he's my side piece. Let's welcome Dave Kaufman to the show. Dave, earlier today, I said tonight's got a big fight feel. You said, I don't know what that means, which to me means you're perfect for this show because it was a sports reference. You didn't get it. Nerds often not too in tune with sports references.
Are you calling me a nerd, James?
Well, I suppose. Would you say that you, and we haven't revealed it yet, would you say you affiliate to any of the subsets that we've collected?
Well,
I think you do.
I think that, there's certain areas of the subsets that we've collected that I enjoy, but none of them dominate my life.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Pretty good.
Yeah. So,
I think you've skirted out of the subculture.
Now, does it need to be your... Now, should we list the subsets first to start?
Let's. I want to chat between you and I. We're going to bring our guests on to go through them all.
Because I want to get into it, but I don't want to ruin. I don't want to spoil anything.
First, let's get into it. Dave, are you excited? I think I might be the only person excited about this.
I'm trepidatious, James.
Why is that? This is interesting.
Because
most nerds are trepidatious.
Sure. Not necessarily.
Around a variety of things. Sports, women.
Sure, but not when it comes to their subject matter.
That's true.
Then they would lose trepidation. They'd be quite confident in their opinions.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I am trepidatious because I feel like I live on the outskirts of nerddom. I work in video games. There's some like sci-fi stuff that I like. There's some high fantasy stuff that I like, but it's never really dominated my life in any way. So
this is the thing. Mm-hmm. Let's just cut the crap right away. Everyone lives on the outskirts of an interest that, without much effort, can go from an interest to you being a disgusting nerd.
Well, I wouldn't even use the word disgusting, James. I feel like these people are people.
People?
Yeah. Yes, people, James. I don't want to use this sort of dehumanizing language that you've started on. That's a road that I don't want to travel, James.
Makes you a little trepidatious.
It makes me very trepidatious about this.
This is going to bring out the next month is going to bring out my inner bully.
I can tell. I feel like
you're worried. I'm ready.
I wouldn't say worried. I would say specifically trepidatious. And here's why. I mean, I described why.
We're both getting a little hot.
I think we might come to blows in this episode.
Oh, yeah, look. But this is what this is about.
Yeah, I know.
16 different groups. By the end of the month, only one is left standing. And there might be some people watching this that will say, well, I don't believe that my group should have been eliminated so fast.
I mean, I don't know if they'd say it like that.
I think, of course they will.
Maybe not. Not all nerds have nerd voice.
I think that my group should have been first.
Well, so I live on the
There's a
outskirts of
lot at
this.
stake here, and this is going back to what you mentioned. We all live on the outskirts,
I don't want
but
to
this is
nerd shame, James. That's what I'm worried
no
about.
one's nerd shamed anyone yet.
Yet.
Yeah, it's the correct answer.
Exactly. I want to, I feel like these people are fellow man, and they just are passionate about certain subjects.
Oh, so you're saying women can't be nerds?
I said these people, didn't I?
No, you said fellow man.
Fellow mankind. It was short for mankind.
Dave, I'm excited. We have put together an incredible panel here.
Here's what I want to know, though, James.
Yeah,
before,
here we go.
Before we get into it, and we haven't uncovered the nerd categories yet.
No, oh no. We should have done last night the reveal, if anything.
But as you know, I'm a betting man. I enjoy wagering. I enjoy gambling.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And I would like to. I'm going to volunteer as potential bookie.
If only we had had the foresight to get one of these sports betting apps.
Yeah.
To become sponsors to this, so we can keep cutting to commercial.
We can cut to commercial. Also, parlays are big these days. People love to parlay. So I feel like maybe for next time I'll set up a little bit of action on this thing.
I'm going to tell you something. Look, there are most certainly poker nerds out there.
Yeah, sure. I definitely have
not
skirted in those communities
enough to make the cut. We could have pushed to 32. We could have.
I also feel as though, and we haven't gone to the categories yet, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I also feel like there's room for additional categories that we didn't cover. And I know that you made a little nerd voice at the beginning and you said, something. But I feel like we should have at least a section of honorable mentions.
Okay, now we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Sure, because we haven't spoken about the categories.
People don't even know what we've got planned for the rest of the month. There could even be a nerd battle royale. There's a variety of things that are going to take place over the next month.
Yeah, what does that mean, a nerd battle royale?
Well, you take the lesser quality nerd groups, you throw them into the ring. Let's see who survives.
Oh, like an undercard.
Exactly.
Maybe you can make one of the rounds.
Maybe you take the best of the rest, you throw them in there. It's like a gumbo of dorks.
Well, are nerds and dorks the same thing?
Maybe this is the question that's going to get answered tonight.
Yeah. And can you be a nerd about nerd categories? Because maybe that's you.
Let's find out in a matter of moments. We've got, as mentioned, a great panel.
All right.
One of these people has been on the show for a number of years because she is an expert in cool.
Well, she's not going to know much about this then.
But you need cool people to determine who the nerds are.
I guess if you are...
Without cool, there is no nerd, but without nerd, there is no cool.
If you're going by high school clubs, then sure, you're right. High school divisions of kids?
Yes.
All right.
Subsets, if you will.
So I guess you could use the word subsets.
We have also got a nerd analyst here who has done and participated in a variety of nerd-based things on this show. If anything, this tournament is inspired by something this person did a number of years ago by discussing a small number of nerd subsets, was also the subject of a former segment on the show, Nerd versus New. So without any further ado, let's welcome our cool expert, Cathy Fagan, and our nerd expert, returning to the show, first time, long time, Marc Rowland. Guys, I don't know if you are as thrilled as I am. I don't think anyone has been more excited for this show than I am right now. Cathy, how are you feeling tonight?
Pretty thrilled, yeah. I've got strong opinions.
Okay, take me through your gut feelings based on what you've heard thus far.
Cathy, I just got to say, though, before you get into it, you have a bully glow right now.
I'm feeling like a bully, yeah. I was thinking about this when I was on a walk earlier, and I was like, I feel like we're going to ruffle some feathers.
I look, here's the deal. And there's no performance here. I already like Cathy a lot. A lot. Hearing what she just said, it launches her up the scale of people that are in like my circle of trust now.
Thank you, James.
Marc, let's go to you. earlier today when we were talking about this, I said, can I run this list by you? You said it was a very comprehensive list, but you also said that you believe you affiliate to most of these.
Yeah. Like two-thirds of them probably.
Okay, what's your
Yeah.
thus on what we've said so far? Any gut reaction?
Horrible, offensive. This is already this whole show has thus far been horribly offensive to.
Okay, well, I just want to go around.
Nerds are talking like this, and they're the dweebiest losers.
I never said the word loser.
You didn't have to, James. You said
Yeah, you're
it
right.
with
You're
your
right.
body language.
I'm glad somebody
your
here
love
said it.
Your love of bullies. This whole thing is a travesty. I gotta say, this competition. This reminds me of like the Running Man. Maybe you throw a bunch of people, into a situation. No one wins except for the spectators. Maybe. Because it's just a bloodbath.
Now, the Running Man, of course, is a famous sci-fi film featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Nerds would know that.
I knew it.
I want to go. I want to go around the
here.
horn before we reveal the bracket.
Go around
Dave,
the horn. What do you
Dave,
mean?
you hear the word nerd. What do you think? What do you feel?
I think of.
Don't say. Just answer.
I think
Come
of
on,
people
Nick,
who are
come here.
misunderstood. I think of people who have passion. I think of people who are committed to a subject.
Such an ass
Who-
kissing, butt sucking, phony baloney.
Who am I ass kissing, James? Who am I ass kissing?
Well, look, Cathy. Let's go to you. You hear nerd. You see nerd. You think nerd. You feel what? You say what?
I think of people who tie their identity to comic books.
Okay,
All
King
right.
You have
Kong.
to tie your identity. I'm going to tell you. I'm butting in.
Okay, Mark. Let's go to you.
Okay, let's go
Nerd,
around the horn, shall we, James?
You hear and you think what, Mark? Let's go to you.
Yeah, so Dave said like people were misunderstood. No, not misunderstood. They're fully well understood, right? These are intelligent people who have hobbies, well-developed hobbies, an extensive, and the amount of money that flows through the economy because of these hobbies
It's
is
true.
incredible. If you can tap into them, damn, you're making it.
That is true.
Yeah.
I liked
Yeah.
I liked
Big
everyone's
time.
answer.
So comic books, just tie it to comic books. No, but comic books is part of it. That's because it's a connected universe. We all have these various things that we draw on in terms
Oh,
of.
Cathy.
I've read a couple graphic novels. I'm not against them. There's just
Okay.
like there's something Disney about people who are super into comic books.
Cathy,
There's
can I just say you
something
just got
Disney
nerd
about it.
explained on this show?
I
First
did, I
ever
got
nerd
nerd.
explaining on this show.
James,
We
I
got
also got to say that that was a very moving speech by Mark, and it moved me into the direction of being on your side, James.
All right.
Not there
now-
yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay,
Okay.
so beginning tonight, we're going to go through seeds 1 through 8, but there are 16 subsets. The
Yeah.
bracket has been prepared. We are going to reveal the bracket right now. We're going to go through everything that people are going to be seeing over the next month. So if you're not watching, we ask you to check out the Twitch player screen. If you still want to listen, I'm going to break everything down. Here are the seeds. Tonight, March 4th, the matchups are LARPers, live action role players, taking on cinephiles, movie fiends, if you will. We've also got science fiction enthusiasts versus comic book nerds. Also tonight, fantasy enthusiasts versus improvisers. And rounding out tonight, video gamers against bronies, which are adult men fans of My Little Pony. Now, this is the 1 through 8 seed. 9 through 16 is next week, which includes professional wrestling fans, Ren Fair enthusiasts, also known as Renaissance fairs, computer nerds taking on Disney adults, cosplayers, so costume play, taking on role-playing gamers. We've also got, rounding out in seeds 15 and 16, weebs taking on collectors, people who enjoy collectibles, weebs, also known as people who become obsessed with Japanese culture, things such as manga and anime. So these are the seeds 1 through 16. We're going 1 through 8 tonight. I want to break down tonight's seeds. We're just going to go category by category. Let's start. How do we feel about LARPers? Quick thoughts only. LARPers, live action role players. If you've been to Mount Royal on Sunday, you might see them playing.
Fake LARPers. That's not LARPing. That's called LARPing by other people. That's not LARPing.
Okay, so we're gonna hold this thought because that's gonna be our first matchup tonight. What do we think of live action role players?
I actually have an affinity for them.
Okay,
I think
interesting.
it's because it's kind of close to improv in a way. And
Okay,
they go out and they do their thing. So this one, I'm for LARPers.
Dave,
I
LARPers.
think that it can be. It seems like something that could be fun, like fake sword fighting. That could be fun if you're doing that.
Yeah, fun when you're a little kid.
You get some exercise. I will say
true.
though, Marc is throwing me off hard right now because this is one thing that I don't like about nerds, and that is when they're...
Oh, so now you're allowed to talk about things you don't like.
Yes, and and that is
Interesting.
that is when they're exclusive. I feel as though, like, look, people are allowed to like.
They're
what
the
they like.
worst. They're disgusting.
Marc was very much, oh, those aren't LARPers. Gatekeeping a community of people.
No,
Yes.
they can go and do that. It's just not LARPing.
You're gatekeeping.
Okay. Okay,
No.
let's
I don't like when nerds
continue.
gatekeep.
Wait a
Let's
second. Wait a
continue.
second. Oh, what are those things that fly in the air? Those are fish, right? Those are fish. So I could just call them
fish
fish.
fly in the air,
Oh.
dumbass.
Flying
They're not
fish
flying.
sounds friggin'
They're
nerdy.
gliding.
Let's move on to this. Might be the coolest of the subsets here, cinephiles. But just like anything else, when you obsess, as Cathy mentioned, and people are telling you, well, actually, that wasn't filmed in New York City. It was on a soundstage meant to look like New York City. When people hammer you with movie facts, cinephiles, Dave, excuse me, let's start with you.
Better than some other files.
Ooh, but you wouldn't call those files nerdy.
No, well, it depends, I guess. But I think liking cinema to a degree is interesting. It's an art medium, and some of it can be cool. But yeah, I agree. When you're doing that kind of gatekeeping, correcting kind of stuff, that's where you lose me.
Cathy, let's go to you, cinephiles.
Yeah, I think cinephiles are cool. Like if somebody's talking about movies that I've never seen and I don't understand, then I feel like they're a step above me in society.
All right, Marc, cinephiles.
Don't care.
Oh, why not? But you know
I
what?
don't
Hold
know.
that thought. We're gonna blast through these.
Yeah.
Science fiction enthusiasts. Cathy,
Oh.
let's start with you.
Oh yeah, the best. Those are the
The
best.
best.
Yeah.
Now tell us. Okay, we're gonna keep it going fast. Dave, science fiction enthusiast. You talked about Running Man before. I enjoyed that film.
Enthusiasts, great. When you get too much into the weeds of whether the physics of something works or doesn't work in terms of fiction, then you lose
That's
me.
important. Yeah, you should do that.
That means they're
Okay.
really smart.
Science fiction enthusiasts, novels only. You can't be a science fiction enthusiast of movies. Maybe if you're into Star Trek, Star Wars, but that's something else. They're their own thing.
Okay.
They're not sci-fi enthusiasts.
Star
Interesting,
Trek
okay.
viewers aren't sci-fi enthusiasts.
No.
Sounds
Not
Okay.
if that's all they've got.
Marc,
gotta
I'm gonna go back to you with this one. Comic book nerds.
Yeah. Oh, what's my feeling on them?
Yeah, just quick thoughts.
Too much money.
Interesting. Okay, so you only prefer the hobbies that involve not spending a lot. So
Look,
cost-effective nerding.
yeah. But I've done it. I spent all my money on comic books.
Cathy, let's go to you. You talked about comic book nerds off the top. What do you think? This might be your cringe category here.
Cringe. Yeah, people who like are super into comic books and tie their identity to it, you lose me like immediately. It feels
Cathy,
like
let's say you're on a date. You're on a date, Cathy. You're on a date with a guy. It's going great. Good conversation. You go back to his house. He's got just like racks and racks of comic books, and you guys head to the bedroom. He takes his sweater off, and he's wearing one of those Spider-Man like graphic novel button-down shirts.
Oh.
I would ask, did your niece buy that for you?
Dave, comic book nerds, let's go to you.
You know, I've tried to read comic books. Sometimes I'm not sure what square to read next.
Okay, let's move on to the next category and or the next subset. We've got fantasy nerds. Dave, let's start with you. Fantasy nerds.
You know, they can be fine. I like some fantasy books. I like some fantasy movies, but I don't get too into it.
Okay, Cathy, fantasy nerds.
I don't know if I've met like a full-on fantasy nerd before. I know people are really into it. I think they're fine. Is it literature?
The answer is you have. He's on this show right now.
Oh,
Marc
yeah,
Rowland.
They're fine. They're okay. They're like the mediocre nerd, yeah.
What's a
Ooh,
fantasy nerd?
you know, like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know, but there's no one's like, I only love fantasy, unless they're just a freak.
I feel like
You
this
know?
category
No,
can
this
be
is
absorbed.
nerd on nerd hate here.
I think this
They're
category can be
freaks.
absorbed into other categories.
Exactly.
I agree.
I think all of the categories could be absorbed into.
Yes, of course
three.
they could all be.
Okay.
Yeah, and they
So-
are. It's called nerds.
Bad category. Move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on
I noticed
to.
that math nerd isn't on the list.
I'll tell you why. I think that math nerd would have been easy to eliminate fast.
Easy.
Why?
But who?
That's the super nerd. I think that math nerds rule the world.
If they rule the world, does it make them nerdy? Look, here's the thing. We might have the best of the rest. Let's move on. This is going to be a hot button one. I'm pushing hard for this one to make it through. Improv nerds. Cathy, let's go to you. You've probably been asked out on dates by a variety of them.
I feel like I get embarrassed to tell people I do improv.
Coming in from the chat, Hansy YC writes, ooh, improv. All right, Dave, let's go to you. Improv nerds.
I like them. I think that you know, you can analyze improv. I think you can get better at it by using logic and reason to analyze comedy.
Yep.
But I also think that you can't just be a nerd. You have to have some kind of spontaneous fire within you.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Also coming in from the chat, first time chat from Syrian Dark Eater writes, Lord of the Ring is goated. So, Marc, you might have a enemy on this show tonight. Marc, how do you feel about improv nerds?
Well, hold on.
You paved the way.
Lord of the Rings, goated. Of course, it's the greatest of all time. Lord of the Rings, yes.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like, being a fan of the Lord of the Rings is a very specific thing. Is that person a fantasy nerd? Improv nerd?
Explain it. You are the grandfather to improv in the city as far as I'm concerned. How would you define what makes a improv enthusiast versus someone who you'd be like, wow, this is an improv nerd?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it would be level of obsession,
Okay.
but then coupled and paired with social capabilities.
Now we're getting into the minutia of things. Moving on to our final matchup for tonight. Video gamers. Cathy, how do you feel about video gamers?
I'm like strangely attracted to video gamers, so yes.
This is very interesting. Tell us more.
You're strange.
I don't know. I just think it's attractive.
Yeah,
Cathy,
Marc's out of frame right now, and I'm concerned as to why, as he is a huge gamer.
Cathy, please close your DMs after.
Yeah. Yeah, it's over for you.
Yeah.
Dave, let's go to you.
You know, I work in video games. I enjoy video games in moderation. I like the tech behind making them. Sometimes people can get too into one. There's huge culture wars that happen online between different subsets of.
Yeah, wasn't there also a bunch of
themselves.
guys who said women don't belong in video gaming?
Oh, no doubt in my mind that those guys exist.
Well,
Yeah,
Marc, let's go to
that
you.
was
Video
Gamergate.
gamers. Video gamers.
I think probably the vast majority of them are horrible people in terms of what I encounter. I am a gamer, but then you encounter people. How many people do you on? Me, it's not majority, but it's a very loud minority because you're on the thing and you hear people's voices like you suck, you do, like they'll just go on and on and on and on about how bad you are, and you just have to like disconnect from people.
You got to block the
cannot-
hate.
You cannot trust people in video game communities because they simply don't understand how to be a good team member. They don't know what it means to be a good
You know,
leader.
you really had me, but now this sounds really nerdy.
I also feel like, Mark, you're
Nerdy.
not describing video game nerds. You're describing video game trolls, and
Yeah.
you are being the nerd.
Yeah, you're the nerd. You're why trolls exist. We're gonna go to our final one. To me, this, when it's like, who do we think is destined to win? Bronies is in that category. Guys who
I don't think it should even be in here. I feel like it's on a whole other level.
What level is that, Kathy?
It's just like it's so obvious that this is the one that's gonna come out on top for being the weirdest. It's almost like saying furries.
But here's the thing. There's going to be upsets. And with enough arguing, Bronies could lose tonight. It could.
Okay.
But I love the gusto. Dave, let's go to you. As one, how do you feel?
Well, firstly, I'm not a brony. I don't know much about My Little Pony, although my daughter started to get into it. I feel like this is a level beyond for me. I don't think that it seems inappropriate in some ways. I feel like it makes me uncomfortable in other ways.
So they're nerds.
I'm not even going to use that word. I'm going to say that they're people.
You're not going to use that word for the next month?
For the next month.
Mark, let's go to you, Bronies. You must know one. You must.
Not to my knowledge. I don't know. Oh, do I? Oh, maybe I. No, I don't know. There's no one that's come out and said, "Yo, I'm a brony, bro."
They wouldn't say it like that.
Bro, I'm a brony. I think there's something sexual about it.
Yes,
Okay.
I think it's about as close as you can get to putting pedophile as one of the categories.
Ooh, the other file that wasn't mentioned earlier. Now, coming in from the chat here.
I just also want to apologize to any of the bronies out there that aren't pedophiles.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Now, we've got a lot of good comments in the chat. This one from, once again, Syrian Dark Eater writes, especially gamers who soul level 1 Elden Ring. Don't know what that means, but
who
Mark...
did what to it?
Means people who play Elden Ring.
And then they're also writing Keyran. I don't know what that means either.
Elden Ring is a FromSoft game, James.
I think he's trying to tell you how his name is pronounced.
Oh, there we go. I thought it was like a character from a film. We've also got from High Score Run, quote, Kathy is in a video game layer right now.
That's right.
We've got from Hansy YC, quote, I think James McGee is the biggest improv nerd I know. This is what we need this on this show right now. From the real Andrew Mackay, he writes, quote, female bronies are called Pega sisters. So there is, so maybe we just need to call it adult My Little Pony fans. But let's get into it. We're already about 39 minutes deep into this episode. We're going to go with our first matchup here as part of the seeding. 1 and 2, LARPers versus Cinephiles. Mark, what's the deal with these fake LARPers?
LARPers versus Cinephiles, and what are we determining here? Like, are we
Who's
trying
nerdier?
to figure out
Who is nerdier? Who's nerdier?
LARPers?
Okay, why?
Move on. Why? Because so when you're into role-playing games, often you do it in the comfort of your own home, away from the prying eyes of the public.
Yeah.
But LARPers will often, do it out in a city, or they're out in a field or something. Not the ones on the mountain, they do something else. But it's public, and I think that it just really puts their nerdiness on full display.
Okay, it's very strong. Dave?
So I have a question, Mark, actually. So you're saying that the mountain people aren't LARPers.
Please, Dave, call them by their preferred name, nerds.
The people of Mount Royal aren't LARPers. Then what would be a LARPer doing?
What role playing is there? There's no role
Come on, their role playing is people functioning in a society.
They're doing combat simulations.
Yeah, with little kids.
But they're playing as like characters from medieval times.
Very, very loosely. to almost not at all.
Now, have you ever attempted to join them and you were annoyed by...
Mark was gatekept.
You were gatekept. Or were you gatekeeping them?
No, there's no problem. I did it. I enjoyed it. Now I understand it for what it is.
Cathy, your reaction hearing this?
Um, I think it adds color to you, Mark.
Ooh, I'm not sure how to take that.
Coming in from the chat, the real Andrew Mackay writes, quote, "My cousin met his wife at a LARP weekend. They had a LARP-themed wedding. Definitely the nerdiest compared to cinephiles."
Yeah, of course. It's
Dave?
so clear.
Yeah, I feel like this is sort of a no contest. This is like
This is a squash, as we say.
it's like the Chicago '93 Chicago Bulls against a high school basketball team.
Interesting that you went with
I
the
think there should be a
93
mercy
Bulls.
That's because I don't know sports, James.
Cathy, can you make an argument for cinephiles being nerdier?
No, I
They
can't.
they sit alone in their basement, jogging pants, watching movies.
I've never met a cinephile that sits alone in his basement. They're usually at improv shows.
They're all like they're like hipsters.
Ooh, some crossover appeal. Okay, so we're making
hipsterish.
the decision right now. This sounds like it's a full KO. LARPers have destroyed cinephiles.
Yes.
Destroyed.
And may I say that our viewership is better tonight than it has been in a while. So once again, my creative genius has rendered this episode a success.
Oh,
Let's move on to the next matchup.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, look, I couldn't have done it without all of you guys because booking this show, I knew we had a hit. This is one of the biggest. Let's move on to the next matchup. Science fiction enthusiasts versus comic book nerds. Dave, let's go to you.
Who's nerdier? I think
that's the name of the game.
These days, I feel like if you asked me like 10 years ago, I would have said that there was a shot that could be comic book nerds. But I feel like these days, everyone and their mom's into the MCU. Even though those aren't comic books, that viewership spilled over into comic books. They've come quite mainstream. Regular Joes read comic books, so I'm gonna go with sci-fi.
Why? Why sci-fi?
Because I still think like if you're into like hard sci-fi, then you probably
Hard sci-fi?
yeah, hard sci-fi.
What's hard sci-fi? Can you please throw out a couple hard sci-fi novels?
I don't know the I don't know. I'm gonna say Isaac Asimov maybe.
that's
I'm
Now-
literally reading Isaac Asimov right now.
Well,
Now,
you best
Mark-
put on your glasses.
Confirm or
and
deny, 'cause
pull
I
up your
can't recall.
suspenders.
If this author is sci-fi or horror, Lovecraft?
Sci-fi. Oh, it's sci-fi horror actually.
Yeah, it's a combo.
Lovecraft?
Yeah.
He sort of originated the melding of the two genres.
Okay. Mark, let's go to you. Comic book
Lovecraftian.
nerds versus science fiction nerds. Now, you had a strong feeling about science fiction and fantasy earlier.
I don't think sci-fi nerd is a real category.
I agree.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, comic
Well,
book nerd, I think because Cathy said this several times. She's highlighted this as a part of her argument. Is
Mhm.
people who tie their identity to comic books, right? And that in a way is a real thing where people are like, oh yeah, I'm into comic books. But I don't think there's that many people are like, yeah, I'm really into sci-fi.
Okay, now let me throw this out there. What about people that are like Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica? They're reading these Lovecraft books.
Oh,
But I think that's faded. I think there maybe were like, oh, big Star Trek nerds. I think that I might be out of touch.
There's still a lot of Star Wars nerds.
no,
Yes.
but they're not the same anymore.
It's not the
They're
same.
yeah.
Okay, but this
There
is
used
okay.
to be
so-
Star Trek
But
conventions.
it sounds like Dave.
Yeah,
Dave
yeah.
is Dave. Dave. It sounds like you're pushing for comic book sci-fi nerds is bigger. Mark is saying Dave. Hold on. You're saying sci-fi nerds is bigger, and Mark is saying comic book.
Mark's winning me over with his arguments. I think that in the past, you know what? I don't even know what I think anymore. I've lost my mind.
But this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it ended maybe in the 90s, and then that was it.
Coming in from the chat, the real Andrew Mackay writes, Trekkies still exist. There's a Star Trek cruise yearly.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, and those people would be intense nerds. I should know. I went to like at a convention, there was a panel on Klingon mating ritual. It was
Oh, how can we not pick sci-fi after hearing that? Coming in from the chat, Hansy YC, I've definitely met more sci-fi nerds than comic book nerds.
Yeah, because
it's almost like comic book nerds are more, you see them more in media than in real life.
Well, I think both are fading. I think both have like.
Okay, so we've got some relics of the past here
I
hanging
think
on.
so. I think
Cathy,
so.
I've been bursting to give my opinion. I think that people who like sci-fi like discussing ideas. And I think that people who like comic books tied to their identity. That's like
This is it. That's it. You keep. That's your only argument. You
yeah,
keep
because
talking
it's
about-
yeah, because it's so weird to tie your identity to something like that.
What do you mean
I think. It's like
tie
Yeah.
your identity? What do you mean by
You
that?
keep using that phrase.
like they see themselves in like comic book heroes. Like almost
No, they
everybody
don't.
I know who is obsessed with comic books, like they like just see themselves in like Superman or like whatever it is. And like they like the underdog story and it like gives them hope. And I think
Well,
that that's fine. Awesome.
I think if Joseph Campbell has taught us anything, it's that people identify with the hero's journey.
coming in
Yeah.
from the chat, Hiran Dark Eater writes, haven't comic book nerds just become Marvel/DC nerds? Hansy YC writes, they think they are in the comic book.
I'm happy that
This
I don't
look,
agree. I disagree.
I disagree with your disagreement.
Well,
Thomas Barnwell writes, sci-fi nerds are no worse than pro wrestling nerds. 100% agree.
Yeah.
100%. Now, I think if I don't know how we're gonna settle this one, so Dave, who is nerdier to you?
I gotta go with my original impulse. I'm gonna go back
Ugh.
to sci-fi nerds.
I would also pick sci-fi. Kathy, you say comic book.
I feel like my strong
You
opinion.
know what?
pushed back.
Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah. No. I was always gonna pick sci-fi. There's just space is for losers.
Not true. Not
No.
That
But-
is wild.
Yeah.
But James, I'm gonna like me saying that my own story about going.
It was disgusting. It's not even like I went to a Star Trek panel. It was a Q&A to talk about the entire series. Yours was specifically about fictitious race mating rituals. How do you fight? Like I said it when you said it. How do you fight the moonlight on that?
There were all sorts of people grunting in the back.
Mark, it's over. It's over. Sci-fi takes this one.
I think you're right.
And I have to say,
that's a subset of people. That's like saying I love animals and then tying the weird My Little Pony fetish to
no, but My Little Pony isn't about animals. They're cartoon teddy bears that have like rainbows on them.
Yeah, and
They're not
having
teddy bears,
on
James.
sex
They're
is not
ponies.
science fiction.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about the Care Bears. The entire time I was seeing bronies in my brain, I was thinking about the Care Bears.
What?
It's in the name.
Yeah.
My Little Pony. They're
Yeah, but you know what?
ponies.
It speaks to my level of disinterest in the world. Mark, it sounds like you've swayed yourself.
Oh,
I
come on.
swayed myself after being there, and like have you ever?
What did the grunts
hold on.
sound like?
Yeah, what are these
Oh.
mating rituals too?
It was bullshit. It was not even real because it had nothing to do with Klingons. It was just
Just
this
do the
one-
noise.
Well, first of all, let me tell the story. So there was this